Bitcoin was one of the hottest stories on Wall Street in the last week. It's been on a roller coaster ride all year, and one man who knows all about it is our next guest, filmmaker Alex Winter. Now, you might recognize him from this.
Preston Esquire.
Oh, you remember that. It's a clip from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from 1989. Alex played Bill alongside Keanu Reeves. More recently, he's gotten into documentary filmmaking, and right now he's raising money through Kickstarter to produce a feature-length film on Bitcoin. It's called The Deep Web, The Untold Story of Bitcoin and the Silk Road, and Alex joins me now to talk about it. Alex, wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much. I hope we didn't embarrass you playing that clip. I'm sure you'd get tortured by that. But we're fascinated by the fact that you want to take this on. Why is it that you want to make something about Bitcoin? What do you think? What story is not being told?
Well, I made a movie last year called Downloaded about the rise and fall of Napster, which was about the birth of the digital revolution. And Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer cryptocurrency, which is basically the next evolution of systems, technologies like Napster, which is an unregulated currency. It exists outside the Federal Reserve, governments, and banks' regulation. So really, it's about a new era that we're entering into, which is causing a lot of anxiety and a lot of confusion. And I think that movies, documentaries have an opportunity to help clarify things for people, to sort of give some context for a really tricky period of time that we're in right now.
Yeah. Do you have a position on this? I mean, is this neutral, or do you feel like this is a positive change or change that we need to worry about?
Well, I think like any massive cultural change, there are positives and negatives. So it wouldn't be so much about neutrality, but it's not a partisan movie. I mean, it's really just trying to examine these huge shifts that are going on in our culture right now and what the pros and the cons may be, so we can kind of have a conversation, take, direction forward. What ends up happening, especially around technology, is people get scared or confused, and then they tend to either demonize or criminalize these technologies, and that stifles innovation, and that's bad for innovators, it's bad for the public, it's bad for business.
Yeah, it's easy to see why this particular one is sort of garnering that kind of attention, though. I mean, there's been a lot of publicity around Silk Road. Some of the people who are early adopters of this have a dodgy track record, if we even know who they are. Do you think that that's hurt Bitcoin's ability to sort of grow and evolve? Because I feel very differently about Napster. I think people felt that that was sort of democratic and breaking the hold of the record companies. This feels a little darker to me.
Well, I think it's too early to kind of characterize it as being dark or light or anything else. I mean, the fact is, it was created by technological cryptographers, basically. So it hasn't really been created in a dark vacuum. It's just new, but it's growing rapidly. I mean, the valuation has increased significantly just in the last month. So I don't think we're going to see Bitcoin go away. I think we're going to see this form of currency, if not something that takes its place, become the norm, actually, in the future. So I think that when something happens outside current systems of regulation, it's scary, especially when it involves money. That being said, I don't think there's anything particularly dark about Bitcoin itself. It's used primarily for legitimate uses. It's also, because of its anonymity, and cryptography has been used for dark uses like the black market, like Silk Road. But that's a fraction of what it's used for.
I'm interested. You're going to do a documentary. How are you going to talk to people about this? Because we don't even know who created it. There is a real veil. It's hard to sort of find the people. Do you know them? I mean, are you inside that world?
Yeah, I do have direct access to a lot of people in the technological sector, in the hacker community. I mean, there are a lot of people that are involved in, remember that Bitcoin is actually an open source technology, which means it's used and created, and the coins themselves are manufactured by a great big pool of people, not by some sort of dark cabal. So those people are accessible. The people that actually run Bitcoin today are accessible. I think it's just confusing for a lot of people, but we are talking directly to the people involved in both Bitcoin and the sort of ancillary markets like Coinbase and other systems that help propagate Bitcoin, because it's a big, giant network.
And I guess one of the, lastly, one of the challenges that we always have, as fascinated as we are with this story, is explaining it. There is something complicated about it, even when you try to explain to people how you get your hands on Bitcoins. How are you going to get over that hump? Because if you're turning it into a documentary film, you want people to sort of understand it and people outside the Bitcoin world to watch it, right?
Yeah, this is something that I went through with Napster because the technology behind peer-to-peer is, on one level, incredibly complicated and confounding. On another level, it's really simple. So what I tend to try to do is just try to explain how it's used for the average person. The math behind encryption technology is extremely complicated. I can't pretend to get it. You know, I'm not an algorithmic master. So I try to explain it in terms of how sort of the average person uses it, and that is explainable. But, I mean, I've got kids. I've been trying to explain to them for the last couple of months how Bitcoin works. I don't think they have the slightest idea what I'm talking about.
Alex, your concern is different than mine. I'm afraid my son will absolutely understand it way before I do, and that'll be a whole other issue. But we wish you the best of luck. Fascinating journey that you're going to go on. Alex Winter, and if you want to check it out, he's got a Kickstarter campaign. Thank you so much, Alex. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.